Hey everyone, so today I want to show off a deck that I created. So this deck that I'm about to show you is not the deck that I created, but this was my first Digimon deck that I played. So I recently got into Digimon prior to BT7. My first Digimon event was actually the BT7 pre-release, but I started to go to local weeklies right after BT7 came out. And I really like Swarm and Rush decks. So when I found out about the Eosmon archetype, I thought, wow, this is a really fun deck to play. So I looked online, I found this deck list for an Eosmon deck by Federico Aringhieri, who played in Italy, November, got first place twice. I thought it was a really good deck. But this was BT6 format. I didn't know that was BT6 format. But I did create my own copy of this deck, like the exact deck. It was pretty good, but I didn't really know how to play it that well. I didn't really understand why a 2-cost Digimon was good for tempo. And every time I got Wormmon and Morphomon out, I just rushed my opponent. I thought that the best way to play Wormmon and Morphomon is to get them deleted. So it just made sense to just attack security right away. I still think that that's the best way. But I don't really like Kabuterimon in this deck. I don't really like this level 4 Eosmon. Level 4 Eosmon is okay, but when I played in BT7 and then everyone was playing Tamers, I just did not really like this level 4 Eosmon, especially since there are not that many white Tamers available. But anyways, this was my first deck that I played. I didn't really like Tai Kamiya Matt Ishida either. Now that they made Digimon Emperor, or they're about to release Digimon Emperor in BT8, I think that we can easily replace 2 Takumi Aibas and 2 Tai Kamiyas and Matt Ishidas with 4 copies of Digimon Emperor. But this was the first ever deck that I played. But I didn't really like the direction that this was going in. It is a good deck. I give credit to Federico Aranghieri for creating it, but this just wasn't my playstyle. So I created a different deck. So instead of blue and green focused, instead of white and green focused, I tried to make it white and blue focused. Of course, Wormmon and Morphomon are still really good cards for the archetype, but let me explain how this deck works. So, as you know, Eosmon is a rush Digimon. So your goal with Eosmon is to get Eosmon onto the field and attack every turn. So I figured, well, if you're playing an aggressive style deck, it makes sense to put in a jamming Digimon, especially a level 3 jamming Digimon. So turn 1, hatch Digi-Egg. Turn 2, keep swinging with your Digimon right away. So it just made sense to kind of lean towards blue, put in this level 3 Vmon with jamming, and then that way you can just keep swinging your opponent from as early as turn 2. I went this way, so I went with a blue base as opposed to a green base, because I want to play blue option cards. I figured, well, Wormmon and Morphomon are only 3 cost, so they don't they won't be hurting me too much if I hard play them for 3. Vmon is also only 3 cost, but the reason why I did run blue is again because of the option cards. So Demi Vmon is my Digi-Egg of choice. Because my only blue Digimon is Vmon, it has jamming. If this Digimon has jamming once per turn, trigger draw 1. So every time you swing with Vmon, you're going to draw 1. Every turn that you swing with Vmon anyways, you're going to draw 1. Wormmon, on deletion, reveal top 3 cards of deck. Add 1 level 4 or level 5 Digimon card among them to your hand. So the only eligible card is Eosmon. I'm running about 15 of them. Morphomon, on deletion, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add 1 Manoa Bellucci Tamer card and 1 Digimon card with Eosmon to your hand. So again, 4 Manoa Bellucci's, 19 Eosmons. Eosmon, just put onto the field, keep swinging every turn. That's pretty much the strategy. Just keep swinging every turn. Eosmon BT6086, level 6 Eosmon. When digivolving for each tamer in play, you may place 1 level 5 or lower Eosmon from your trash at the top of this Digimon's Digivolution cards in any order. If you place 2 or more cards by this effect, delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon. It's really good because you can delete any of their Digimon, level 5, level 6, level 7. Any Digimon that they have is eligible to be deleted, assuming that can be deleted by a deletion effect. Your turn, for every 3 Digivolution cards this Digimon has, it gains security attack +1. So I should note that I took out the level 4 Eosmon because I didn't really like on playing it and giving my opponent a free tamer. And I didn't really like digivolving from level 3 to that level 4 to level 5. I think that the level 4 Eosmon can be omitted entirely. Playing a 5-cost level 5 Eosmon on turn 1 is still a really good play. You are giving your opponent 5 memory, but with Eosmon on the field, assuming that you have another level 5 Eosmon in your hand, from turn 2 onwards, it pretty much pays for itself. Like, 5 memory for 1 Digimon is kind of expensive, but assuming that it lives on your first turn, and then you swing with it from turn 2 onwards, and you get like 2 Eosmon for 5 memory, then it starts to really show off its value. And that's the reason why I took out the level 4 Eosmon. I just focused mainly on the level 5. Okay, now let's get into option cards. Aqua Viper. Main effect, return 1 of your Digimon to its owner's hand to return up to 2 of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon to their owner's hands. So this is a unique addition to this deck, and let me explain why. Let's say that you have an Eosmon, you have 2 Eosmon in play. You attack with 1 of your Eosmon. It becomes suspended, it swings into security. Hopefully it lives. If it lives, then what you do is that you take this Aqua Viper, return the suspended Eosmon to your hand, and then bounce back 2 of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. Swing with the second Eosmon. While attacking, you play the one they just added to your hand to the field unsuspended. So pretty much, this combos, you return 1 of your Digimon to your hand. But because Eosmon plays itself for free when you swing with Eosmon, I mean, this is pretty good. Essentially, you're just paying 3 to bounce 2 of your opponent's Digimon to their hand, that's level 4 or lower, and you play an unsuspended Eosmon. The only drawback I want to say, or the condition that you can really do this on, is if you swing at security and your first Eosmon lives. Like, it's kind of dependent on your Eosmon living, but again, it's not like you have to play this. It's just there for you to stall out your opponent slightly and then give you an extra turn or 2 to withstand their attacks. Rattlestar, I just really like Rattlestar. Return 1 of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. If your opponent has 3 or more Digimon in play, return 1 of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck instead. So if they have 2 or fewer Digimon in play, you return 1 that's level 5 or lower to their hand. If they have 3 or more Digimon in play, you return any of their Digimon to the bottom of their owner's deck. And I think that's really good. Most of the time, your opponent will have more than 2 Digimon in play. So they'll probably have like 3 or 4 Digimon in play, especially now that they have memory blockers, Bokomon, Nemon, Huckmon. There are just different Digimon that are level 3 that are good just keeping on the field. So if they fill up their board with level 3s, or just fill up their board with more than 2 Digimon in general, you can return any of their Digimon to the bottom of their deck, which is essentially deletion, but better. Because deletion, they probably won't get it again. They won't have access to the Digimon. But it's better because it doesn't actually go to their trash. So it doesn't fill up their trash. And also it doesn't trigger their on deletion effects. Assuming that the Digimon can't be deleted, or if it has armor purge, it just completely bypasses it, because it just removes it without actually deleting the Digimon. Cutting Edge. You may play one level 5 or lower Eosmon from your hand without paying its memory cost, then delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to the Digimon played with this effect. So the main reason, again, is Eosmon. If you can play an Eosmon for 5, or you can play Cutting Edge, just one memory more, play an Eosmon and then delete one of your opponent's 6000 DP Digimon or lower. It seems like a really good card. So with Ralstar, it's 5 memory removal. With Cutting Edge, it's 6 memory removal with more conditions, but you do get an Eosmon into play. Ice Wall is just good for stalling out your opponent. Main effects, every time your opponent swings with a Digimon on their next turn, they lose 2 memory. Security effect, you gain 2 memory. So it's just good for stalling out your opponent, or it could potentially alter their game plan on their turn, or it could just shift their turn to yours. Izzy, Izumi, and Jokido, arguably the best dual memory tamer out there. It's just really easy for your opponent to have 2 or more Digimon in play, and if they have 2 or more Digimon in play, you gain 2 memory. Opponent's turn, when one of your black Digimon is deleted, you may suspend this tamer to draw 1. Doesn't really help you in this deck because you aren't playing any black Digimon, but you are running Izzy, Izumi, and Jokido primarily for the +2 memory effect for your opponent having 2 or more Digimon. Manoa Bellucci, arguably the main cohesive glue in this deck that ties the Eosmon archetype together. Start of your turn, if you have 2 memory or less, set your memory to 3. Your turn, when you play an Eosmon, you may suspend this tamer to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 tamer card or 1 Digimon card with Eosmon and its name among them to your hand. So you can get 1 out of 19 possible Eosmon, but you are playing an Eosmon to activate the effect. But the chances of you revealing an Eosmon in the top 3 cards are still pretty good. And if you don't reveal top 3 and find an Eosmon, you do have a fair chance to find an Izzy, Izumi, and Jokido. But because of the sheer number of Eosmon that you have, it's really easy to find either an Eosmon or Izzy, Izumi, and Jokido. And then, of course, place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Opponent's turn, while you have an Eosmon in play, their tamers don't unsuspend during their unsuspend phase. So depending on what tamers they have, this might affect hybrid decks. But again, that's just like a bonus. The main effect is the memory setting and searching for Eosmon and other tamers. But yeah, this is pretty much the deck. Demi Vmon, to go with Vmon jamming. Every time you swing a Vmon jamming on top of Demi Vmon, you draw a card. The Demi Vmon is there. So in case you don't have a Vmon on the field, you will most probably have a Demi Vmon in your raising area. And if you have Demi Vmon in your raising area, you can use Aqua Viper to return one of your Eosmon to your hand, attack with a different Eosmon, play the same Eosmon back to play. So there's not really a drawback to that card. Assuming that the conditions are met, you can pretty much change a suspended Eosmon to an unsuspended Eosmon, then bounce back 2 of your opponent's Digimon for 3 memory. That's pretty good, but again, I only ran 2 because of the conditions that you have to fulfill. They aren't really hard conditions, but because of the conditions, I'm only running 2. You can alternatively decrease Wormmon and Morphomon by 1 each. Actually, no, decrease Wormmon by 2 each. Decrease 2 Wormmon. And then you can add 2 Aqua Viper. Morphomon is just strictly better than Wormmon in this deck. But if you want to run a full playset, take out 2 Wormmon, put in 2 more Aqua Vipers. Rattlestar, pretty good for removal. So the blue cards in this deck obviously are just to stall out your opponent. Aqua Viper stalls them by bouncing back 2 Digimon. Rattlestar stalls them by bouncing 1 Digimon. Ice Wall stalls them by making them unable to attack your security many times during their turn. Cutting Edge to remove their Digimon also stalls them. So the options are just there to stall. Vmon for card draw / pressure. Morphomon, Wormmon to search for Eosmon. And in the case of Morphomon, Manoa Bellucci. Eosmon is one of the main stars of this deck. Just swinging all the time whenever you have a chance. Giving them a bunch of pressure. Vmon pressure, Eosmon also removal and pressure if you have enough Eosmon in your trash to give this security attack +1. It does cost 5 memory to Digivolve, hence why you are playing Manoa Bellucci and Izizumi and Jokido. You really want to gain 2 memory every turn from Izizumi and Jokido, or not every turn, but when you do decide to swing with this Eosmon, the memory gain is really, really good for you to be able to Digivolve, still have enough memory for it to be your turn, and then swing with this Eosmon, possibly with security attack +1 or +2, depending on, of course, how many Eosmon you have in your trash. But yeah, this is the main deck. There are also other variations, including a purple variation that trashes your Eosmon, draw 1, trash 1, draw 1, trash 1, and then that also sets up for this level 6 Eosmon. There's like a black variation. There's just different variations, but this is my interpretation of a blue Eosmon variation with a splash of green. Again, if you do want to decrease Wormmon by 2, you can add in 2 Aqua Vipers. This is my side deck. So if you want to use these wonderful option cards, you might want to consider taking out Wormmon or Izizumi and Jokido. So take out Wormmon or Izizumi and Jokido, and then replace with Izizumi and Mimi Tachikawa. So again, it's a dual tamer. If your opponent has a suspended Digimon in play, gain 2 memory, your turn effect doesn't activate because you aren't really running green Digimon that are level 5 or higher. Oh, it has to be exactly level 5. But you aren't running any level 5 green Digimon. So really, this is only for the memory gain. I find that Izizumi and Jokido is more reliable for memory gain because your opponent has a really good chance of having 2 or more Digimon out. This is dependent on if they have Digimon out, and they have to attack to suspend, and they have to hopefully live your security check after they attack. So it's like, it's still reliable, but not as reliable as Izzy Izumi and Jokido. You can also run Giga Def. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then place up to 10 of your opponent's suspended Digimon at the bottom of their owner's deck in any order. So this is pretty good removal. Assuming that you're playing against a deck that is almost winning and wiping you out, and then they attack, they swing out with their Digimon. Their Digimon are fully suspended. You use this card, you bounce back up to 10 of their suspended Digimon. You can also run Mega Def. It's cheaper than Giga Def. Main, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of their suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. So this is okay. So it's similar to Rattlestar, where you return one of their Digimon to their hand. This you need blue and green, but this is not restricted to level 5 or lower. This is restricted to level 5 or lower unless they have 3 or more. I find that Rattlestar is better than Mega Def most of the time, but if you do want to run Giga Def, I would recommend switching out Izzy Izumi and Jokido for Izzy Izumi and Mimi Tachikawa. That way, you're reliably having a blue Digitama or blue Digimon on the field at all times. And then because you're switching out this black tamer for a green one, you can run Giga Def. Running Giga Def, I would take out some Wormmons, possibly 1 Cutting Edge, 1 Rattlestar, 2 Wormmons, to run a playset of Giga Def. But really, it depends on what you want to do. This is my interpretation of an Eosmon deck. I haven't actually played it yet because VMons have been really expensive since the upcoming BT8 set is coming out. So it's just not a deck that I've been able to compile, and I have not actually bought the VMon cards. I'm waiting for them to decrease in price, or I'm thinking about just picking up the booster box and then just trying my luck to find my own VMons. But yeah, this is my interpretation of the deck. Looking at it 3 weeks later, I don't think that Wormmon is that necessary. Morphomon is good. I can definitely see that. Wormmon I might consider replacing again with Giga Def, or just taking out 2 Wormmons and then adding in Aqua Viper. But I don't think that Wormmon is that necessary for this deck. There are different cards that you can use. But if you want to replace something, I would say replace Wormmon, replace Izzy Izumi and Jokido, add in Izzy Izumi and Mimi Tachikawa, add in Giga Def, and then it should be really good. If you want to add in more Aqua Vipers for that Eosmon combo, swing, live, return the suspended Eosmon to your hand, swing with unsuspended Eosmon, play the one that just bounced back to your hand for free. That triggers Manoa Bellucci, etc. You can add in more Aqua Vipers, but this is the pretty general skeleton of my deck. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will of course let you know in a follow-up video how this deck actually performs, what changes I've done to the deck once I've actually created this deck. But this is my interpretation of a blue-green Eosmon deck. Blue with a splash of green, I should say. But yeah, thanks for watching.